Hello guys, I'm Andrea Francesco, but for the ones who follows me on the social media, you probably know me better under the name of Andrew Cockroach. I'm a professional concept artist, character designer and illustrator, and currently I'm working in the tabletop game industry, and I've been into the tabletop games for many years now. But in the meanwhile, I worked on some other side projects. For example, now I'm into some video game stuff. Can't show you nothing yet, but hopefully I will be able to show something through my social media in the next month. So, what I do basically is creating concepts and characters for the most of my time for games. So, to show you better what I do, I'm going to open my under construction pages work for my next art book, so you can see some single sheets to understand better what I do. Or the guys that maybe don't follow me on social media, I don't know. I basically create mainly characters sheets, a lot of sketches, a lot of concepts for tabletop games, and now video games as well. As you can see from the pages of the book, I fill a lot of sheets with characters. It's not the only thing I do, but mainly this is my work. Worked on many tabletop games since I'm in the industry 15 years, maybe a bit less. And we create games based on my concept works and character studies. As you can see here, this is only my personal stuff. Now, I prefer to show you my personal works. I think they are better for this purpose. So, let's talk a bit my productions. Probably the most famous one is called Arcadia Quest. It's a series of tabletop games with a theme of classic fantasy, but the characters are super deformed or chibi, so with big heads and really small torsos. I've been into that project for a lot of years. We created a lot of expansions and stuff. I don't usually draw chibi stuff when it comes to draw for myself. I also worked on as illustrator for some music projects like cover artworks for musicians and a lot of stuff like that. I worked with the Udon for some Street Fighter comic covers. That's it, but mainly I'm really into the tabletop game stuff. Why? Because I really love to see my character becoming a plastic miniatures, so I can literally collect my own character when the game is done. I have access to real miniatures, and it is really cool, and I was always captured by the fact that I can actually collect my miniatures. So let's stop now talking about what I love. I'm going to talk about what you will learn with my course. We will go really deep into the character design, the concept art, and then we will work on some more complex illustrations. So, character design. Working on a single character, conceptualize a single character out of nothing. So it's all about creating something new, something that still not exists. We will see how to use the references, photo references, to have some help on the creation process. I will show you how I work on the anatomy of my characters, on the face features, the creation of objects, weapons, and additional objects, and all that makes a character more interesting. We will see that part very deeply, and then I will also show you how to create dynamic poses for a character like this one, for example, and we will learn how to put more characters into a more complex scene. I want to show you some example of a more complex scene like maybe this one. You can see the interaction of more character into the same scene with a background, it's full color. So this is usually what I do even at my work after we created the characters. For a game, we spend some more time on creating illustrations that can be used, for example, for the box cover or a rule book or for promotional purpose. That's why I will show you the real difference between character design sheet and a real illustration. In a real illustration, you have to put more elements together, so I will try to give you some notions of composition, of layouting, and the proper way to put together more elements and creating an interesting image. But I think we will talk about an overview of character design and illustration in my next videos, so I don't want to spoil too much to you now. Let's talk about what I use here for my work. Oh, I just found some illustrations from my real job, from my real company job. So I was talking about chibi stuff, super deformed character. These are from the game. I think it was from Star Arcadia Quest, released by the company Cool Mini or Not. As you can see here, I conceptualized this character and all the universe, the world, the environments. This was a more advanced stage of the work. We were creating some splash images for the rulebook, so you can see more characters with an interaction like a comic frame. This was for something, I think, promotional, because of the angle of the composition. It looked like something that probably I've done for promotional purpose. So let's back to the presentation for a bit. I want to tell you what I use to work, and I'm going to tell you what you will need to follow my course, but I'm almost sure you have all that you need since you are here. So first rule, I want to just say this before to start. Don't think that a software will make you create better art than another software. Software all the same, in my opinion. You can use Photoshop, you can use Clip Studio Paint, you can use the Corel Painter. They basically works all at the same way. So they have layers with different options. They have filters, they have a drawing area where you can draw, erase, fill with a bucket, drawing freehand or drawing like a vector software. If you are using a mouse, I don't know if there is someone that still uses a mouse to draw, so don't mind your software. You don't have to use my software, you don't have to use what I'm using to make this course. Just use the one you feel the best with. What I'm going to do here while I will draw for you for this course is to explain the things without going into the detail regarding the software I'm using. So if I'm using some kind of layer to make some particular effect, I will show you that it will be the same in any other software. So don't worry if you don't use the same software I'm using here. That is not mandatory, that is not something really important. You can draw on a piece of paper, then scan the piece of paper, use a digital software for the colors. Let's say for some reason of more fast with my company work, I fully work digital, so I cut off that stage where I have to scan my works, so I choose to work completely digital. Okay, the softwares. Here we go. Okay, I use a very cheap Japanese software called Paint Tool Site. It's probably the cheapest software ever. It costs maybe around $50. I bought my copy really a lot of years ago. It's a software from 2005. It's really old stuff. It was purposely created for freehand drawing. So there are not tools, geometry tools. Like in Photoshop, there are no text tools. You have just a set of brushes. You have some layers with actually really few options, like multiply, screen, overlay, luminosity, shade, lumen shade, and binary color. We'll see this later. But if you are using Clip Studio Paint, it's basically the same thing. If you are using Photoshop, it's basically the same thing. The only difference maybe is that with other softwares you will have more tools at your arsenal. So this is probably will be much easier for you to follow me on these curves, because I really use few options to make my work done. So I use this software, Paint Tools I. For anyone is interested to take a look, you can find it easily on the web. You can purchase a copy for really few dollars. They are releasing a second version after more than 15 years, a version 2.0. I had the chance to take a look at the beta version, and it looks really cool. It's much more similar to Eclipse Studio Paint. Let's say the main reason why I've choose to work with this software is because it's really smooth when it comes to draw. Just to make you an example, you can see how smooth the lines are. I'm not even using a stabilizer. It's set to 0, a completely freehand, and it looks like a real pencil. If you are working with a drawing monitor, it's really close to drawing on the real paper. So I believe that today maybe all the softwares have a good algorithm like this one. But you know, when I work, I don't want to spend too much time thinking what I'm doing. My main purpose is to just draw. So I feel a bit lazy in trying a change of software. If I will ever choose to change a software, I will probably jump into Clip Studio Paint, since it's the more similar to this one. So I repeat, there is no reason to use the same software I'm using to follow this course. I will make all of my notions of this course easy to follow for all the softwares basically. So as I was talking before, this software has a lack of geometry tools, so I had to find another software that could help me when it comes to work on geometric tools. I found this one that is really interesting, that is called Lesinezumi Pro. It's another very cheap software. Once you open it, you have just to turn it on and hook the windows. Okay, and now that the software hooked my window, I can show you that I can draw. Let's erase this one for a while. It provides me additional geometric tools. You can see something that my software Paint Tools I definitely doesn't have in its arsenal. So you have, let's turn it off for a bit, more features, more options like grids for ellipse, fisheye perspective, isometric, and a lot of other stuff. Once it's hooked to your working area, basically it becomes an extension of your own software, and it allows you to create more geometric stuff. If you are using Photoshop or Clip Studio Paint, you don't need this. I'm so in love with this Paint Tools I software that I have to find a solution to implement some options that actually I don't have here. It's cool software, very cheap as well. So I'm showing you that you don't need expensive stuff to make great art. Okay, let's back to this doodle I was doing last night. So this was about the software. Of course, I use Photoshop as well, but more for, how to say, for a final touch stage, like color balances and all the other filters that Photoshop features. Let's open it. Okay. For example, let's open an image. Photoshop has some cool filters and it works really good with the color balances options. like this stuff, something that I don't have in my software. So when it comes to finalize the work, I have to jump into Photoshop for a while just for a final touch, and I usually export my drawings through Photoshop because there are a lot more options of exporting, like when you're going to save your file. There are a lot of options that can be useful if you have to provide your drawing to a company. So that's why I use Photoshop for the very last touch and exporting. But we will see this later in the other videos. So let's close Photoshop for a while now. Now let's talk a bit about hardware. That's maybe more important than the software itself. So in my opinion, I really don't care about the brand of your drawing tablet. I work with a Wacom one just because at the time there was just Wacom, probably. I don't know, it was before the Apple stuff. I know that today there are some more companies that create great tools. So I started drawing with a classic tablet, drawing tablet, where you have to look at a monitor while you are drawing on a tablet. It was completely weird, and so with the time I changed it with a real drawing monitor. This one I have here is a Wacom Cintiq 22 inches. That's probably for me at least, the most important feature of drawing tool. It has to be big. Why? Because the bigger your tablet, your monitor is, the more close to drawing on a real piece of paper will be. So I have some models like 13 inches, really small, and I don't like the experience so much. So for me, 22 inches is the right size. There are even 24, 26. They are really huge monitors. 22 inches full HD for me works really good. So I work with a Wacom Cintiq 22 inches, and I have, let's say here, my hardware. Okay. And I use classic pen. It's basically a much thinner than the factory pen that Wacom provides. The Pro Pen from Wacom is really thick, felt uncomfortable after so many hours on a drawing. So I purchased this one, classic pen or slim pen. It's basically a slim version of the Pro Pen from Wacom. It's not thin as the Apple one, but it's thin enough to have a good grip in your hand. So I also use a colorimeter called Spider4 from Datacolor. Basically is a tool that sample your monitors and create a color profile in order to have your screen calibrated at its best, and you don't have bad surprises when you go to print your work on real paper. Other than that, you don't need a super performing PC to make art. I have a pretty good one because I use it for gaming as well, but you just need a average good PC, big tablet, big screen monitor. If you feel comfortable with a smaller monitor is good for me. No limitations to this. And you need your favorite software. The software is like the environment where you will spend a lot of hours. So you need an environment where you feel good. You know everything, where it's placed, when you don't have to think about where you put your hand. You just have to go automatically. So if you're working with your software of choice since many years, just go on with that, because you have to focus on the drawing. You are here for that reason. We are not here for learning new software. There are probably other courses for that. I want you to have fun with drawings, so let's avoid the stress of jumping into a totally new software where you have to learn again all the features. The lucky thing here is that as I told you before, all the softwares are basically the same thing, more or less. For what we are going to do on this course, any kind of software is the same good. Okay, I've talked about my personal art. I've talked about my company work. We have talked about this software war. And nothing to say here more than that. I will show you in the next section an overall look to my art style. I'm really sorry for my bad English, first of all, and I will show you what influenced me the most. So that's all for now. Just to recap, to make a fast recap. Remember, all the softwares are good, all the hardware is good. It's really up to you. If I just have to express a preference, I will tell you choose a big monitor, because if you are going to spend a lot of hours on a screen, your eyes and your body will thank you because a big screen is much comfortable. I know they are pretty expensive, but if you are going to follow the path of being an artist, you need to treat you well, because you will spend really quite a lot of your time on these tools. So thank you again for joining my course. This was just the beginning. We don't even have started to draw. We are just talking about something here. So we will start the course very soon. Maybe in 2 videos we will start actually to draw something. We will talk just a bit more. I think it's needed before to start the actual thing. And as I was telling you a while ago, thank you for joining this course. I promise you we will have some fun, and hopefully I will teach you something. And if you are already an advanced level artist, I will be really happy and glad to show you my personal way to work. There is nothing too difficult, there is nothing too much about technique. Finding your own style or looking at other artists' working process, it might be something interesting. So, see you on the next section. That's all for now. Thank you and bye.